You can listen to this podcast, man. You can go watch a freaking thing on YouTube that motivate. You can do all this stuff, but until you subject yourself to this training or this pain, and you actually feel it, and you actually have to work through it, and I'm there with you, or somebody else is there with you to mentor you and help you work through it, like, you don't really freaking know how to get through it, man. You gotta feel it.
Welcome to the MTNTOUGH Podcast, brought to you by Sig Sauer. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the MTNTOUGH Podcast. We are so glad that you are here, diving into these episodes week after week. It is our goal to bring you inspiring guests, the best of the best, and we want to dig into their mindset, their mental toughness, their mental fitness, giving you tips, tactics, tools you can add to your mental mindset toolbox to continue to transform your life, live that abundant life and that virtuous life. If you are a first-time listener or a loyal listener and you haven't left a rating, ranking, or review, if you could take a second and do that, those do mean the world to us. I myself personally and the MTNTOUGH team, we love getting your feedback, and we're always looking for ways to improve. Additionally, those rankings and reviews do allow these episodes to get out to more people through the algorithm. It allows them to be shared more broadly so that we can transform and change more lives and people's mindset. Going on at MTNTOUGH, I did want to make sure you were aware, as a podcast listener, you all do have access to a 6-week code. So the MTNTOUGH podcast listeners, you get a code for a 6-week trial to the MTNTOUGH app. That code is MTNPOD. So that's Mountain Pod, all caps, all one word, MTNPOD. And that's going to give you 6 weeks on MTNTOUGH Plus. That's the 14-day free trial with a whole nother free month added on top of that. 6 weeks gives you a chance to really dive into the app, test and look at a lot of our physical programming, whether that is body weight to minimal gear to full gear, no matter if you're a beginner, intermediate, or elite athlete. And it also allows you a chance to take some of our mindset courses, our spiritual courses, and our nutritional courses before you become a full subscriber. So check that out. Go to MTNTOUGH.com, click Start Free Trial, and use the code MTNPOD, all caps, all one word, for your 6 weeks free on the app. Now, shifting gears to today's episode. Today's episode is one I have been waiting for a while. I've been following this guy for a while. I've watched his journey, his brand grow, but I've also just recently watched the documentary that is out on him. The guest today is Chadd Wright, and there's a new documentary on Amazon Prime called 1 Mile Out. I recommend everyone watch that either before or after this episode with Chadd, because that documentary is a real black and white example of mental toughness, self-talk, using mindset tips and tactics against your competitors, and being so strong in your mindset that you can maintain that for hours and hours and hours to break down your competition. So 1 Mile Out is a crazy documentary on mental toughness, and Chadd is the main character. He is the runner in that show fighting for the win, and you'll see Chadd's mental toughness toolbox presented to you clearly on that documentary. It is excellent. I highly recommend you check that out. Ever since I watched that, I couldn't wait to interview Chadd on his background and his mindset. And it is a phenomenal conversation. Excited for you guys to hear this. Chadd's going to share his journey, how he's helping a lot of folks through his brand, the 3 of 7 project, and we're going to dive into his testimony as well. This is an episode you're not going to want to miss, so stand by with my conversation with Chadd Wright.
Running through, Arizona, and we ran all the way across the state pretty much from Phoenix all the way to Flagstaff, and that dust worked its way, through. I like to wear thin socks down here in Georgia.
For sure.
Because we don't have to worry about dust. I mean, we have mud, but we don't have dust. And that dust worked its way through those thin socks, and just the abrasion on my feet, it destroyed my feet, dude. So,
it's different
for the guys that you guys interact with and train with, the guys that are hunting that country out west, I got the utmost respect for them because it's no joke,
man.
I mean, this country here on the East Coast, I'm even in the mountains, and just in comparison, it's soft, man. It's soft.
The mountains out here, you can't cheat them. I mean, they'll crush you any way they can. It's kind of like they're trying to kill you at all times in different ways, whether it's the rock or the snow or the creek crossings. It's just different out here.
It really is, man. It really is. But now it's got its own unique type of beauty. That's what I love about it, is the vastness of it. And I think that's another unique thing about the country you guys hunt and work out in and train in. It's so vast that it makes you feel small.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here where I live in North Georgia, if you're going down a trail, it's like a green tunnel. Like 95% of it is just a green tunnel. It's all rhododendron and mountain laurel and, big old growth timber. So very rarely can you see out. Even when you get up high into the mountains, you can't see out. So I feel more comfortable. Like you just feel, you feel contained. You feel like you're in control.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, you get in the mountains out there where you guys are, and you just feel like a freaking ant.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, this place freaking eat me alive, man.
From a spiritual perspective, it's always amazing. And even for me, born and raised here, that same thing always happens. It can happen to me here for sure. But for me to go to like Alaska and all of a sudden you're dropped 300 miles from the nearest town and you're out there and it's just like the spiritual moment where you're like, wow, I'm a tiny little speck on this planet Earth. And we think we're the main spoke of the wheel all the time when we're not at all. And sometimes God has to hit you with a 2x4 to remind you of that.
Yeah, it's a great perspective shift for sure. I mean, you're right. All of us, we operate like we are the center of the universe, and we can't help it. We're stuck in our own minds and in our own little lives. But getting out in big country like that is just a huge perspective shift.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the thing I like most about, hunting out west or backpacking out west, is that perspective shift that you're talking about. And I could only imagine taking a hunting trip up in Alaska or something where it's truly remote,
mm-hmm.
Truly remote. I haven't had the opportunity to do that. I spent some time on Kodiak Island just training, but getting dropped in somewhere, that's on my bucket list, man.
You got to do it. Yeah, you got to do it. I mean, and it's not as difficult as a lot of people think with all the pilots up there in Alaska. The do-it-yourself drop camp hunts are really realistic and achievable for a lot of people. I mean, drop camp caribou, drop camp moose are great options to take a look at.
I'm going to check that out, man. I'm going to check that out. It's something that I've always considered. I've just never looked into, and life gets so busy too, man. It's like, since we started 307 Project and we're traveling all over, training people, I'm doing my own races and stuff like that. It's like, I put hunting on the back burner for probably the last, I don't know, 3 years of my life. And it's like that, and it's weird that I've done that because hunting has been the single thing that has stuck with me since a child.
Mm-hmm.
It's been the only passion that I have had that has been with me literally since the first time my uncle carried me on his shoulders down into a swamp to a dog that was treed, had a coon tree. I started coon hunting. That's how I got into hunting. And like from that literal first hunt that I can just barely remember it, it's been the only thing that stuck with me throughout my life as this huge passion, this thing that I have, this desire and this drive to do. And yeah, I need to get back to that. Mm-hmm. And I think you have to be deliberate about that. You know, you have to put hunts on the calendar, or they're not, just like anything else, is never going to happen, right?
You have to. Yeah, you got to be intentional about it. Block it off. And it's such a primal, human instinct. It's something that, is calling to us as men for sure to get out there and hunt. And so much of it is not about the harvest, but it's about, that the hunt itself and the joy of hunting. It's incredible.
100%, man. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about for me. It's the, there is no better way to build true, deep, meaningful friendships and have camaraderie with the guys that you're out there with. I mean, just the depth of relationships that have been built through hunting. It's unparalleled versus any other activity in my life. There's just something so unique and special about it. And I guess it is that it is somehow coded into our DNA. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's really hard to explain, man. I wish everybody had the opportunity to experience. And yeah, it's not about to kill. I actually hate killing things now. The older I get, the less I like to kill things. Like we were out here on a hike the other day, and my buddy brought his Weinerheimer, and this dog takes off after a deer, catches the freaking deer, and takes it down to the ground.
Oh man,
the deer's injured, and so we walked back to the house, and like his kids were with us. His kids were all sad and stuff because the deer was injured, and I grabbed my rifle and I'm like, well, I got to go put this deer out of its misery. It's not going to survive. And the whole time I'm walking back in there to shoot this deer that's been wounded by this dog, I'm dreading it. Like I'm dreading it. And that's because it goes back to what you just said. It's not about the kill. It's about the actual hunt, the pursuit, mm-hmm. And the people that you're there doing it with,
Yeah.
And luckily that deer had already died by the time I got back to it, so I didn't have to kill it. Yeah, man.
That's wild.
Yeah, man.
Well, man,
But anyways, we just jumped right into this, brother. No, I didn't formally introduce myself or anything.
I think we keep rolling. This is great. I've been excited about this call for a long time. I've followed your journey for a little bit. I've listened to quite a bit of your content, and I've always been very excited to get the chance to talk to you for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons I'm really excited about today is Mountain Tough. We're going into year 8 now. That's
awesome, man.
And our community is amazing, and the training that they're doing is very awesome. But we talk to the community all the time that for us, it's physical, mental, it's spiritual, it's emotional, nutritional. So we're treating everyone very holistic. And even though most people are finding us because they did draw that Colorado elk tag or that Alaska sheep tag, that's the reason they sign up, but they quickly realize that, we're sharpening them mentally, spiritually, nutritionally, and emotionally as well. And that's where we see these major life changes, these life transformations. And I know you're doing the same thing in a similar way with, 3 of 7 from the mind, body, soul. And so I'd love to start there and dig into, what got you into that, why you started it, how it's going, and kind of the drivers behind 3 of 7.
Yeah, man, 3 of 7 project. Thank you for asking about that. And by the way, before I talk about what we do, thank you guys for the resource that you're providing for people out there. The mentorship, the coaching, just the motivation. This is a unified effort, man. And I definitely feel like 3 of 7 Project and Mountain Tough are mutually supporting elements. We're trying to accomplish the exact same goal in our communities and individuals' lives. We're just using a little bit different conduit. And so I was medically retired from the Navy in January 2019. And when I got out of the Navy, like a lot of guys, not all guys, but like a lot of guys, I didn't know what the crap I was going to do, man. I also didn't realize the things that I had learned in the Navy were valuable to other people. Like, I didn't see myself as an asset, really, when I got out of the Navy. Once I was no longer part of the team, I just thought, I'm out here in this freaking civilian world and I'm not really an asset, because I just didn't know the way that I thought and the way I ticked and the way I had been trained and the things I had seen and the things I had learned from, my mentors and people in the teams that were way better than me. I thought everybody thought like we thought. I didn't know what the crap I was going to do, man. And turns out I decided to start ultra running just as a personal thing. And for me, it was just to have something in my life that was still going to challenge me at a high level and like force me to grow and stay in shape. And it gave me a place to compete and things like that. So I started ultra running. Didn't know what I was going to do to make a living in terms of business, but I've always been a pretty good runner. Not like, obviously not like Olympic or collegiate level, but I've been decent. And I ended up being really good at ultra running just because I had that kind of foundation of being a decent runner paired with the mindset that I had learned through buds and the SEAL teams and all my mistakes and all my triumphs and all that stuff. And so when you paired that kind of good foundation of being a decent runner with the mindset I had, I was able to go out and start doing really well at races and even winning races really early on in my ultra running career, if you want to call it.
With that mindset.
And so a dude hits me up on Instagram. I started an Instagram page because my chief, Brandon Tucker, which you guys should interview him. My chief was like, that my last chief before I got out, he said, you got to start an Instagram page. I didn't even know what social media was, but he told me about it. So I started one and I started posting about my running, and some guy hits me up on my direct messages on Instagram and wanted me to come and coach him on how to run. And I did some research on this dude, and he turns out to be one of the top entrepreneurs in the world. His name's Jesse Itzler.
Amazing.
He's a billionaire entrepreneur, but he likes to run. And he had decided he wanted to run 100-miler. And he said he couldn't run any further than 20 miles. He was just, when he would go out on his training runs, he just couldn't push past 20 miles. It was like this mental block or mental hurdle. And so he hit me up, somehow found me and asked if I'd come and coach him. Well, back then I didn't realize that people paid people to coach him. I was just like, well, this guy just needs help. He seems like a cool guy. I'll probably learn some things from him, and maybe I can help him out with his running.
Yep.
So I flew up to his place in Connecticut, and it's funny because he's a New Yorker, and totally like polar opposite personality to me, you know. And so I fly up there, and I'm like fresh out of the Navy, man. And I just started listening to the way he was talking and looking at the people he was surrounded with and just kind of analyzing his environment. And I said, all right, I know what to do here. And he expected me to like tell him to buy a different pair of running shoes and like look at his running form and make tweaks to his running form and stuff. And I could tell the dude was fit and he knew how to run. His problem was all in his freaking head.
Yep.
And so I wasn't telling him anything about running. I'm just hanging out with these people, complete strangers at this point. I just met them. And so the whole time Jesse's thinking, well, I sure have wasted my time flying this freaking redneck guy up here that, you know, he's a good runner, but I flew him up here to coach me and he's not telling me anything about running. So we get up the next morning and I'm like, all right, Jesse, we're going to run today and we're going to run until I say we're done running. So I didn't tell him how far we were going to run. And I said, there's only 3 rules. The first rule is no cussing. And he's a New Yorker, so he cusses, man. And that was hard for him. Like, I was like, absolutely not. No cursing, all right? The second rule was that every hour on the hour, we were going to share something with each other that we were thankful for.
Amazing.
And the third rule was that anytime I asked him how he was doing during our run, he could only respond with, I'm outstanding. I feel outstanding. That was his only response he could give. Even if he literally felt like total freaking crap, he wasn't allowed to give that pain he was feeling a voice. He had to respond with, I feel outstanding. So we go out and run, and I'm, just holding this guy accountable. And we're just going through the motions. We run 20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles, 50 miles. We get to 50 miles, and it's starting to get dark. And to be honest with you, I was tired of running, and I wanted to go get some food because he had a chef at the house, right? I was like, heck yeah, man, we're not gonna miss dinner. This is like, I don't have a chef.
You get some chow.
Yeah, man. So I was like, all right, man, we're calling it. And we called it at 50 miles that day. And he could have kept running. I mean, he could have went, I don't know how far he could have went, 100 miles, 200 miles, I don't know. But when I did that for that dude, he's the first person that ever like told me, hey man, not everyone thinks like you, and the way that you think can help other people. You need to be teaching people this stuff, right?
Mm.
And he started talking to me about building a brand. I didn't even know what a brand was, dude. I had no idea what a brand was. He started telling me, yeah, you got to have this logo. You got to have, put it on a T-shirt and this and that. And
website.
Yeah, website. I didn't know any of this. So he's telling me, dude, you need to take what you know and you need to teach this to other people because look how much it just helped me.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, me and Jesse ended up running that 100-mile race together, and we finished in less than 24 hours.
Incredible.
Using these same principles. And so that was kind of how we got the brand, how the concept of the brand came around. And then 3 of 7 project is a really weird thing. I was doing a podcast with Marcus Luttrell. If you guys don't know Marcus, he's the lone survivor.
Yep. Operation
Red Wings, really amazing story of survival. And it's where Mike Murphy was on that Medal of Honor winner. I was doing a podcast with Marcus Luttrell one day, And he stops in the middle of the freaking interview, and he opens up his Bible and just starts reading Ezekiel 37.
No way.
Valley of the Dry Bones, Ezekiel 37. I don't know freaking Marcus from nobody, man. And he just stops in the middle of the podcast and he reads the entire chapter, and then he just stares at me.
No way.
Yeah, he just stares at me. And then I'm like, Roger that, man. Roger that.
Just a God moment.
Freaking wild, man.
Man.
There's something special about Marcus. I can't put my finger on it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not saying that he's whatever. He's human. He's like the rest of us, but there's something special about that dude. And so when I was trying to think of a name for this brand, and Marcus reads this Ezekiel 37, and I'm looking at Ezekiel 37, the Valley of the Dry Bones, and how the Lord is taking these bones and putting flesh and sinews on them to build them up into this complete human being or being. So I thought, man, I like that. So 3 of 7 is going to be based around doing things or finding ways to master, nourish, and maintain our body, physical body, our mind, and our spirit in order to become a complete or the most complete version of ourselves that we can possibly become. And that was the idea. And I put it on a t-shirt. And if any of you guys ever start a brand, when you first start it, it's going to sound really weird, and you're going to feel like a fraud, and you're going to be like, this doesn't really have any like following or meaning right now, or I don't even know exactly what it's supposed to be. What it is. That's how I felt, man.
Man.
But I just did it anyways.
That's incredible. Chad, I want to unpack a couple things in that story. The first one is that season where you got medically retired and you're first out in the civilian world. Before that window where the ultra running started, between retirement and that first run, did you go through a rock bottom moment? Did you go through a tough season?
Yeah, I went through a tough season, but it was really, to be honest with you, the toughest part of that season was like the probably the last 6 months I was actually still in. And I was having to go to all these freaking doctor's appointments, man, because the Navy just sends you down this rabbit hole. Like the first, like I went to the doc because I was having problems with my balance. I would go out at night. I was at Traded at the time as an instructor. I would go out at night doing a nighttime OTB or something, and I'd be on nods, watching the guys come across the beach, and like I would just lose my balance and kind of fall over. And it kept happening, and obviously that kind of freaks you out. I mean, yeah, it did me anyway. Yeah. So I went to the doctor and I was like, hey man, my balance is jacked up. And so then they run me through this test and they figure out I've lost like 50% of my vestibular function on one side. I already knew I was completely deaf on my left side, but I didn't know that my vestibular function, the stuff in your inner ear that controls your balance, had gotten all jacked up too. Well, once they find that, then they start sending you like down all these different rabbit holes, like all these different scans, and they want you to go talk to this counselor, and they want you to go over here, and dude, that was awful. It was so awful. Chasing that was the hardest time of my transition. Oh. So once all that crap was over and I was actually out of the Navy, it almost was like, oh, thank God. Like, I'm out now. Because, like, when you're in the Navy, if they tell you to go to the doctor or the specialist or whatever, you have to go.
You're going.
You have to go. And then you got to listen to that daggone head, whoever he is, tell you what, all the crap that they think's wrong with you. And then you're just listening to that day after day. And then, you know, by the end of 6 months, they've convinced you that you're just a freaking broke dick piece of crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They can get in your head and think you're
Yeah, they get in your head, man.
Crazy.
They get in your head. That's their job. Their job is to find something wrong with you. And so once I was out, I was like, okay, I can take a pause now. Like, I don't have to go to these freaking doctors anymore. But I kind of felt, I didn't feel grounded, right? Because I didn't have a mission once I was out of the Navy. I didn't have a mission. I didn't have a purpose. You know, I went down to Moyock and got a little job with the formerly Blackwater. It's now called Academy. It's a contractor, big contractor down there. And I got a job with them, just kind of working some little different contracts here and there. But that was stupid. I mean, I didn't want to do it. Was the same crap I've been doing. You know, I didn't want to do that. But rock bottom, no, I wouldn't say it was rock bottom. I say the rock bottom for me in my adult life was when my wife was dying from addiction in 2012. Oh man, that's been the hardest thing in my whole adult life is watching her, you know, overdose time after time, and you know,
drugs or alcohol.
That was freaking terrible, man.
Was that drugs or alcohol? Drugs,
pills. Yeah, all kinds of drugs. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, and praise the Lord, she's been clean and sober for a long, long time now. But that was, if I had to call out a rock bottom, that would have been it.
Yeah, that would be very extremely difficult for anyone, for sure.
I hate it, man. I hate freaking drugs, man. I hate them. I don't hate addicts because, like, I know who my wife's one of the coolest freaking people on earth, man. But when they're bound up by drugs or alcohol, or they're bound up by that spirit of addiction, is how I like to reference it. It's the most powerful force on earth. Addiction is it trumps a mother's love. It trumps money. It trumps sex. It trumps every other powerful thing on earth if you get bound up by it. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, just the devil prowling around us like a lion, just another tactic he has just to bring us down.
For sure, man. And you know, a lot of people are really judgmental against addicts, and I get it, man. Like, I get it. You know, a lot of these people that get hooked on these pills and stuff, they get like my wife. She got prescribed this stuff when she had her wisdom teeth pulled, and it just hooked. She was hooked on it immediately, and then they can't. It literally becomes a disease where they can't stop. Like, they have to go get treatment to stop. So a lot of y'all can say, oh, well, these people are freaking turds because they chose to take these drugs and this and that. Well, yeah, maybe they did choose the first time or the second time. And yeah, that was a bad decision. But how many freaking bad decisions have you made?
Yeah.
A lot. It's just the bad decisions, the couple bad decisions they made led them to a place where they no longer had a decision. It just consumed them. Freaking wicked stuff, man.
I've used a ton of Bluetooth speakers over the years, and they all have never quite had enough output for me to really have an awesome home gym workout on a Bluetooth speaker. But the Turtle Box is in a whole new ball game. They have leveled up this product, so the bass and the output you get out of a Turtle Box is quite amazing. It's funny how we started using them at the lab. We had an awesome sound system at our new lab here in Bozeman. We were using it so much, we actually blew our brand new system out. We went right to the Turtle Boxes, and so we paired two together in the lab, and that was a lot of output for the Mountain Tough team and all of our testing to have phenomenal sound in our gym for a great workout with great music. We know there's a ton of mountain toughers training in their basements, in their garages, and I know a lot of you are looking for great sound to play some music in the background to your MGDs or your kettlebell diesel. This is a great product for you to check out. Turtle Box is at a whole new level. The bass and the volume you can get out of that box. It's a sweet product. You guys can check them out at turtleboxaudio.com. Again, that's turtleboxaudio.com. You've been listening to the Mountain Tough Podcast. Well, let's fast forward a little bit. I do want to fast forward now to today after starting the 3 of 7 project and what you've been up to with that specifically and how you're seeing it impact people's lives. And how are you seeing that mindset change helping people? What are some of the obstacles they're having to overcome? What's working? What's not working? What's going on with the project now?
Yeah. Dustin, thank you, man. It's crazy that you guys allow me to come on here and talk so much about myself and what I'm doing. I mean, I just, a lot of times I feel like I don't deserve it. You know, I'm sitting here and I get to talk about all the stuff that I'm doing. And I know you guys are doing awesome stuff too. So thank you for asking these questions. So 3 of 7 project, how do we achieve that growth in terms of body, soul, and spirit? The main way that we achieve it is by way of training. So the last part of my SEAL career, I was a SEAL instructor, and that's where I learned that I had a real passion for teaching or instructing. Everything from building curriculum to just putting pieces together and creating this, really cool training mission. And I was doing that obviously for SEAL platoons while I was active duty, but I just loved it, dude. I love teaching, even just being up in front and teaching someone a new skill or something like that. And so once we started 3 of 7 project, I knew that was my strength, was being a teacher. Mm-hmm. And so really the pinnacle of what we do at 3 of 7 project is our training missions that we do. I say it's the pinnacle because I'm spending time with people face to face. I think that's our superpower at 3 of 7 project. Like, by way of our training missions, I now have spent time with thousands of individuals face to face, doing something hard with them, like right there with them. Yeah. Over the last 3 years. Like, that's that's the pinnacle. Because you can listen to this podcast, man. You can go, watch a freaking thing on YouTube that motivate. You can do all this stuff, but until you subject yourself to this training or this pain, and you actually feel it, and you actually have to work through it, and I'm there with you, or somebody else who is there with you to mentor you and help you work through it, like, you don't really freaking know how to get through it, man. You got to feel it. Hands-on. Hands-on. It's got to be hands-on. And so, I've designed all these training missions. They have different titles. Like, one of my training missions is called the Rite of Passage. We go out here in these mountains, and we simply hike for 24 hours straight. They're not allowed to sit down or stop. So for 24 freaking hours, the team is moving forward. And you don't think that's hard? Come on out and do it with me. Yeah, without a sit-down break, 24 hours. It will freaking eat your lunch, son. Every time I do it as a dang instructor, it's my course. Every time I do it, I'm like, why the crap am I doing this, man? But then when we get done and I see how it changes these people, I'm like, I can't stop doing this. Mm-hmm. As long as people want to come, I'm going to keep doing this. And the main struggles that we see with people, again, it all has to do with how they think. People just don't freaking think right, man. The brain, yeah. And They don't understand they're in control of how they think. You are in absolute control of how you think. You know why? Because you're in control of your actions. I hope we can all agree that we are in control of our actions.
For sure.
Okay? Your actions influence and develop the way that you think. So you have to control your actions, and that will therefore control or improve the way that you think. And people's habits and the things, the way they've been raised and their habits and even the bad habits they've developed, they just get so deeply ingrained. So their actions are all jacked up. And so therefore their thinking is all jacked up. And so we have to change that, man. And people are asking me, well, what are you talking about, Chadd? The way you think, like, or how do I improve the way that I think? And I think it's a really simple formula. I mean, for me, and we can go into any of these however deep you want, but for me, the first thing you have to do is take steps to change your environment. You have to take steps to change your input. By change, I mean improve. Improve your environment, improve your input, and then take steps to improve your output. And when you do those things, it's going to impact how you think. And when I talk about thinking, like, for me, the pillars of mental toughness are the ability to be patient, the ability to stay present, and the choice to be deliberate or intentional with everything that you do. So that to me is the formula.
Let's break that down with an example you've seen. So, starting with that environment, how would you recommend people change and improve?
Yeah, I see it. I mean, I see it every day. People, it's on all levels in terms of environment. It's everything from the cleanliness of your house, like the environment you're in. Is it is your place a freaking dump? Are you keeping stuff up? Are you picking up after yourself? Your environment, meaning the relationships that you're in, right? Who are you spending time around? That's impacting your environment, right? There have been so many people in my life, man, like even family members. I'm telling you, man, if you are not bringing positivity to my environment, I'm not going to be around you. I'm not going to freaking talk to you. I just ain't going to do it. Yeah. And I'm not saying that if you're my friend, like, you can come to me on a bad day and I'm going to help you through that. But there have been so many people in my personal life and probably in all y'all's life that are just a freaking nagging nuisance, man. They never have anything good to say about what you're doing. They never have anything good to say about life or the world or what's going on in their lives. And they're just dragging your dang environment down, man.
It's toxic for sure.
Toxic, man. A lot of people are in an environment for the majority of their life at their job, and they freaking hate it, man. They hate it, and they don't have the courage to walk away from it. Okay? And I get it, man. Some people are sitting here saying, yeah, Chadd, but I've done this job for 25 years, and this is what I do, and I can't walk away from this. I have a family to feed. I have children. I can't make that transition. Okay, well, if you don't have the courage or you legitimately don't have the option to walk away from that environment and to put yourself in a new environment, then your option is to be the change in your environment. Yeah. Like, you always have that option.
Lead where you are.
When people start complaining, talking crap around you, dude, I'm not going to listen to this. I'm going somewhere else. If y'all can't act right, I'm going somewhere else, right? So you always have that option. I just think a lot of us just we just feel like we're stuck in whatever environment that we're in. And we don't want to put in the effort to make it better. And whether that's cutting people out of our lives, whether that's picking your crap up, whether that's changing something, just any change that you can make that's going to clean up that environment that you're in.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the input is all about what you're allowing into your mind, like directly. You're in control of that. And that's all about the media, the podcast you're listening to, the music you're listening to. Music's huge, dude. Y'all don't even know it, dude. Music is huge. And whatever, man, you may or may not be a Christian like me, but there's references in the Holy Bible that Satan himself obviously was an archangel. His name was Lucifer before he was cast out of heaven. Lucifer was the leader of the worship team in heaven.
No way.
Is the easiest way to put it.
Man.
And so obviously he, as an archangel, was uniquely gifted in that way. And so to me, I think that one of the main tools of the enemy to get into people's heads and to tear them down and to make them do bad things and act like a piece of crap, the main way to manipulate people is through music.
Man.
And it's crazy, man. But you have to become hyper aware of your input. And this is radical, by the way. Whatever, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you want to win? Like, do you want to get better? Well, it's going to take radical change. It seems radical because the rest of the world are a bunch of freaking non-playable character turds, dude.
Yeah. Passive.
So
complacent.
any change you make, it's going to seem radical in light of the world.
Yeah.
So what the crap are you listening to? What are you putting in your freaking head?
That one's sneaky too. We felt it for sure without really realizing. That one will hammer you because like at Mountain Tough, we have the lab. We're testing workouts every day on mountain athletes, backcountry athletes. We have been for years. So there's training going on all day in a gym environment. And, part of a lot of great gym environments is great music bumping in the backgrounds. And when you're working out, when you're training, when you're lifting or doing a high intensity workout, you're looking for that music with that beat in it to get you pumped or get you hyped without realizing how nasty the lyrics are, because you're just looking for that beat, not realizing that the stuff that they're actually saying in some of these songs, even if it's subconscious, is rotting your brain or planting some very harmful seeds that one could sneak up on you fast. And sometimes you'll walk out of that environment like, I just feel kind of nasty without even realizing where it's coming from.
Yeah, man. And again, that seems freaking radical, and that's going to seem stupid to a lot of your listeners, but it is what it is. I'm just telling you, it's true. Like my gym is very conscious of that. The gym I go to here in town, and I love that about my gym. Like, you can find music that has a good beat that keeps you going. First of all, you shouldn't freaking rely on music in the gym to get you pumped up anyway.
Yep, for sure.
I don't even give a crap what's playing in my gym. I don't even freaking hear it, man. I'm just doing what I need to do in there to get stronger.
Yep.
But for a lot of people, they do tune into it. So yeah, you have to be conscious of it. And then the last one is the output, meaning the words you speak. Your tongue is the rudder of your whole life, man. Again, sounds radical, but the things that you choose to say out loud are going to steer you in a good or bad direction. Period. It's happening to you. Whether you know it or not, it's happening to you.
Yeah.
So It's in our human nature to complain, to whine, to gossip. All those things feel good to us, but they're destroying us. I don't want to hear your freaking gossip, man. I don't want to hear your complaining. I don't want to hear your excuses. And anytime I feel the temptation to gossip, complain, make an excuse, I think in my head, I see that temptation coming up in my self-talk, and I think, oh man, there it is. And I actually choose to say whatever the opposite of that thing is.
Shut it down.
I shut it down, man. And, self-talk, it starts with self-talk, but you can trump your negative self-talk if you will have the courage to speak good things into your situation. So that's the output. It's all about what you say. It's key, man. It goes back to that thing I did with Jesse on,
the run,
training at his house. Like, how does this joker stuck at 20 miles and then he runs 50 miles and could keep running for God knows how long? Well, what did we do? We created a good environment. And the only input that he received was coming from me, and the only input I received was coming from him, and it was all positive because we chose to control our output.
How bad?
That's the formula.
How bad did he want to curse that day, or how bad did he want to complain?
I'm sure the temptation was extreme, dude. I'm sure it was because, we ran that 50 miles on pavement.
Oh, yeah.
Brutal, dude.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Man.
I listen to people when I'm racing all the time. I'll run by people. I'll run by people on the trail. I'm usually running up in the front of the pack. And, if I hear somebody, like I'll come up on another runner and I'll ask them on purpose. I'll say, hey, man, how you doing, man? And I don't really care how they're doing. I'm racing them. Uh-huh. I just want to see how they'll respond. And if they're in a bad place, they'll respond with something like, oh, man, like, yeah, it could be better, And if I hear them say that, I know, like, there's no way they can beat me at that point. There's a whole documentary on this. There's a documentary on Amazon Prime called Just 1 Mile.
Oh, yeah.
Where you guys can watch me. Have you seen that?
Yeah. My wife and I and family watched it, and it was fascinating. It was so fascinating what you were doing there from a mindset perspective. It blew me away because especially for me, it was interesting to see my wife's input and feedback as well, because I've listened to your podcast over the years, and I've listened to your content over the years. And so I knew more about who you were and what you stand for before watching that documentary. So I had a better understanding that you are a nicer guy than is portrayed in that documentary. But my wife is like, this guy is a jerk. And I was like, it's all mind games. It's all mental. And at the end of the documentary, you explain that a little bit. But man, like you didn't budge on that. You didn't budge on that until you crossed that finish line as the last guy, which was, that was wild. Yeah. So I'm glad they made that film, because that film will show you everything that I'm trying to talk to you about right now. It'll show you me actually doing it, right? Mm-hmm. So not only are these things going to improve your own existence, but doing these things and also possessing this knowledge is going to allow you to tactfully defeat your competition. Because now if I know that these things work, if I can get my competitor to start talking negative, like if I can ask the right questions and just kind of lead them down a road where they start talking about,
maybe that blister that's bothering them, or a little kind of tweak their knee or something. If I can get them to start talking about that, I'm freaking crushing them, dude. And don't take that the wrong way, guys. That's the nature of competition.
Yeah, I mean that documentary shows that pretty much in black and white. Asking them how they're feeling as you run by, asking them, how their feet are, how their knees are. And all of a sudden that negative snowball starts building in their mind. And you're balancing that out the whole time with the positive. So even as bad as you may have started physically hurting, and you talk about that at the end of the film where you were hurting for a while, but you were doing exactly what you just mentioned of saying the opposite of what you were feeling with that self-talk. So if you're in extreme pain, you're throwing out the opposite, that you feel great. And when everyone else around you thinks that you're feeling great, their negative snowball just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. It was wild.
I love it, man. That was such a good day. I love it. That's what was so cool about that. So that's what was so cool about that race particular. For the listeners, it's a 1 mile loop, and you have to run the 1 mile loop until no one's left. Everyone quits, so there's only one person that finishes. But that's why I have such a big advantage there. It's not because of my physical fitness. It's just because it's all because of my mind. Like and the knowledge that I have, and then being able to wield that knowledge against the competitor. That's the biggest advantage I have there.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these guys, dude, Greg Armstrong, the dude I beat the first year there. I won that race 2 years in a row. The dude I beat the first year there, he runs for the American National Ultra Running Team. He's one of the best runners in the entire country.
Insane.
So he's a better runner than me, 100%.
The mental just trumps the physical, and we talk about that all the time with mountain toughers that are going on these backcountry hunts. And we want them to thrive in the backcountry, and 100% of the time, the mental's going to ultimately end up trumping the physical. We're going to get them in the best physical shape possible before that trip. But if they're not working on that mental fitness, the mindset, then ultimately that's going to sneak up on them.
I love the way you put that. The physical fitness is just the foundation. It's just the foundational element. It's by no means the whole picture. And I think a lot of people are also confused about how to become more mentally tough, or how to build that mental toughness, or how to get to the point where, it's just your default to do the right things. Like, it's just your default is to not complain. Where you don't even have to think about it. Like, how do you get to that point? Because that's the point that I am at personally. That's my default. Like, it's just it's who you are. That's what it has to become. It just has to become who you are. You can only get to that point through repetition.
It has to be repetition, because we have these neuro pathways in our brain that have been cut for years with negative thinking, and we have to cut new grooves by some hard training, to doing the hard things and doing the right things for a period of time before it becomes the natural path rather than the unnatural path.
100%, man. Yeah, I am the product of literal thousands of repetitions of doing the right thing while doing something hard. Mm-hmm. But also, the caveat to that is there are some of those repetitions where I did the wrong thing, or chose to complain, or chose to show weakness, or chose to be selfish, whatever it may be, during that hard thing. So while you're putting those reps in, just understand that every rep's not going to be perfect. But the point is getting the rep in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's thousands of reps. It's not just like 6 months and you're going to be squared away with this bulletproof mindset. It's going to take years, man.
And you can't.
That's why patience is so important.
Yeah, and you can't stop either because it is just like a muscle. I mean, it's like a bicep or a quad. If you train that over and over again to get extreme muscle size or endurance, and then you stop, it's going to atrophy, and our brain's going to do the same thing. You can't be extremely mentally tough one day, never work on it again, and rely on that to continue.
If I took 5 years off, it would just be a decision to throw away everything that I've built up to this point. Like if I took 5 years off, dude, I would be throwing away 20 years worth of reps. You can't stop. You're exactly right. I mean, I know that. That's the reason I keep doing the things that I did, that I do. That's the reason I ran 250 miles last year. This year, I'm going to bike the Colorado Trail this year. Mountain bike the Colorado Trail. Just these massive efforts, and every year the efforts get bigger and more complex and harder. And last year was a big year. I did a 365-mile mountain bike race. I ran a 250-miler. I ran 200-milers almost back to back. And I also mountain biked across Georgia on a race called the TNGA, which was 370 miles with 70,000 plus feet of climbing.
Jeez.
And so it was a big year. I learned a lot. But, man, I ain't freaking doing those things for Instagram, dude. I barely even, I mean, I probably hadn't posted on freaking Instagram. I don't even know how long. I'm about over it.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I ain't doing that crap so that because I give a crap what you think. I'm doing that crap for myself, man. Because I know that I can't stop. Because if I stop, I'm throwing away everything that I've built to this point. And I also know if I choose to stop in the position that I'm in, then I also can't help people around me.
Yeah.
Like, I can't continue to do the job I've been called to do in training other people if I personally stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am financially independent. I don't have to work. I don't have to freaking do any of these races, man.
Yeah.
I do it for the reason that you're talking about right now, because that's the truth. It never ends. Stop looking for a finish line. It doesn't exist. It never freaking ends until you die.
Yeah. I love that so much, but I do want to I want to make it more granular for a second, for the reason of when we started the Mountain Tough podcast, we knew that there were 1,000 great hunting podcasts, and we knew that there were 1,000 great fitness podcasts. But what we did see was there were no mindset specific podcasts that were breaking down some granular tips from some of the most inspiring guests like yourself that are doing these things, these amazing, crazy, difficult things. But when a lot of people hear the 250 milers or the 100 milers, they freeze up a little bit. So I do want to unpack one thing, because what I see now from my perspective with the Mountain Tough podcast is men are struggling. I mean, men in America are struggling, and they're struggling with passivity, complacency, mediocrity, anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, alcohol addiction, porn addiction. It's rare to see the opposite a lot of times right now in American men, but they all are they're searching for that way out. They're looking for some ways out. And oftentimes some stuff can be too inspiring to them or too monumental. So for example, a 100-miler might scare them. A 250-miler might just seem too extreme to them, even though I know we can get them there eventually. But what do you say to the listeners now that they're struggling? They're struggling with their purpose. They're struggling with their why, their mission, their leadership at home, their energy, their drive. And they can barely even run around the block. What do you do with those guys?
Yeah, man. You know, a lot of times, it's really awesome that you bring that up, because a lot of times I forget that that's where we all start from. Because I've been doing it for so long. It's like, I forget that was me, guys. Like, that was 17, 18-year-old me. Like, I barely graduated high school. When I went and took the physical standards test to go into BUD/S, I couldn't swim. I couldn't freaking swim. And I went to take a swimming test to become a Navy SEAL. I couldn't run 1 mile. I weighed 220 pounds. I couldn't run a single freaking mile without stopping. And I went to take a test that required me to run 1.5 miles and swim 500 meters and do at least 6 dead hang pull-ups and do at least 60 sit-ups and push-ups and all this. This was the physical standards test to get a SEAL contract. So if you're that person, understand that's where I started from too, right?
Incredible.
What do you have to do, man? Well, there's a couple things. One thing that really stands out to me in my story, you remember how I just told you I showed up to take a swimming test knowing I couldn't swim? I showed up to do a running test that I knew I couldn't pass. How do you think I felt when I walked through the front doors of the Cobb Aquatic Center and I'm standing face to face with this man, Senior Chief Frank Cutler, my SEAL mentor, that's about to run me through this test that I know I can't pass? How do you think I freaking felt?
Fear.
I felt like an idiot. I felt like I don't belong here. Which, by the way, all the other guys that were there to take that test, they could all pass the test. I couldn't. And I knew I couldn't pass it. But I walked through the freaking front doors of the Cobb Aquatic Center anyways, because guess what? I wanted to be a SEAL.
You showed up.
I showed up, man. I showed up in spite of the fact that I knew I was insufficient, that I knew I was going to stick out like a sore thumb as I was splashing around in that stinking pool looking like I was about to die. I knew that people were some of them were going to laugh at me. I knew that I just wasn't going to feel comfortable in that environment. It's scary, man. But that's the first thing you got to do, man. You got to show up. You got to show up for me, it was showing up to that aquatic center and walking through those front doors and saying, I'm going to do my best to pass this thing, right? I know I'm not going to, but maybe I'll swim 1 lap today. And then you have to do that day after day after day after day after day. And you have to make minor tweaks every single day. And then guess what? Eventually, you start to kind of get comfortable in the water. You start to kind of learn how to run better. You start to build relationships with the guys that are there with you. And then you start to feel like, man, I do kind of belong here, right? But that means you got to show up every single freaking day for a long time, feeling like you're the biggest turd in the room, man. I never felt like I belonged in the SEAL teams, man.
Ever.
Because everybody around me was better than me. I never felt like I belonged there. Showed up every day for 12 years.
It's incredible.
That's my life, dude. You have to do that. The second thing I'm going to tell you, I told you guys I walked through the door of that Cobb Aquatic Center. There was a man standing there named Senior Chief Frank Cutler. He was my SEAL mentor. It became a mentor to me in my life, for all of my life. If you're in that spot, man, not only do you have to show up, but you have got to find someone to coach you or mentor you. You're probably going to find that person by showing up. So don't try to find that person first. Show up first. And then you need to make yourself available, and you need to look around you, and you need to be conscious of the resources that you have around you, and you need to find a mentor. And that's the great thing about what you guys do at Mountain Tough.
Yeah.
You offer credible coaching and mentorship. Am I wrong by saying that?
Yeah, that's correct, for sure.
Okay.
And a tribe.
So we're really blessed right now that we have the internet, that we have ways to find people who are credible. And let me tell you right now, I don't care what the investment is. If you can afford it and you're in that place where you're freaking stuck, like, I don't care if it costs you every last bit of freaking spare money that you have to pay for that mentorship. As long as it's a credible mentor or coach, freaking pay for it, man. Because it will save you probably 10 years of flailing around like an idiot.
So true.
So just make that investment into yourself, dude. So that was a great question, by the way, because it brought me back to my very beginning, right?
Yeah.
And it made me think granularly, like, okay, how did I do it? Well, I showed up day after day, even though I was failing, even though I felt like I didn't belong. Showed up, and I also leveraged the advice and the mentorship that was available to me. I leveraged that, and I learned from that, and I executed the things I was being taught. And just over a long time, I think it took me about 4 months to finally pass that PST. And I took it once a week. Some weeks I took it twice a week.
Man.
And it took me about 4 months just to pass it. I mean, just to barely pass it.
Yeah.
And then I got a SEAL contract, and then I went to the Navy, and it's a whole nother story. But then I had to go have a dang heart surgery before they kicked me out of the Navy.
Jeez.
And I had to have a heart surgery before they would even let me back in the Navy to go and do what I wanted to do. It's like a 3-year journey for me just to stand on the start line, man. It's going to take longer than you want it to take. Just get it through your head. Get over it, man. It's worth it. What else are you going to do?
Yeah.
You just going to keep wallowing in the same freaking pile of crap that you're wallowing in?
And it's the process. It's the process that's so amazing because there is no finish line. So there's never going to be a finish line, but all those days in the pool, all those people you met, even in the 4 months leading up to that PST, I mean, all of the process is what adds all this fulfillment to life, allows you to live a virtuous life. So it's not really the end game that's going to bring this great satisfaction and joy to your life. It's that daily process, which a lot of people miss. They think it's this big elk hunt they're going on this year, or this big marathon that they're running this year that is going to revolutionize their life. Or 100% of the time, it's the process of training up for that event that really transforms your body, transforms your mind. You just have to get over that. You have to get over that fear of what other people think is a huge one. And you're a great example of that, like showing up to that pool, knowing that you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. Somewhere along the line, and this is a key to a lot of life's mastery in a lot of different areas, but you have to not care what anyone else thinks. And it's hard to do, but you got to get that fear out of your mind, because at the end of the day, most people aren't really paying attention anyways. They have enough going on in their own life to worry about. And so this fear of what other people are thinking can build up into this huge event in our mind when it's not as big as we think it is. And there's that fear of adversity slows so many people down too. They have a fear of doing hard things, and you overcame that somehow by showing up to that pool. You blocked out that fear of what other people are thinking, and you blocked out that fear of doing something hard. And then it wasn't easy, but slowly things started to change. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I don't think you ever fully block it out. I don't think that I blocked it out.
True.
I think I just showed up anyways. Like, it still bothered me.
Yep.
You know, and I see that in the training that we do. Like, you know, when I run a rite of passage mission, the 24-hour deal, you know, we'll have a team. It's small teams, like 15. 15 men will show up, or women, from all over the country. So it's a small team. So everybody's looking at everybody. Everybody's eyeing each other up. And my favorite thing is when somebody shows up and they're like 350 pounds. And the rest of the people on their team are like ultra runners. They've been following me for a long time. They're just in this same world that I'm in.
Yeah.
But this one dude that heard me on one podcast decided to sign up for the ROP course and shows up to this thing, and he's like, 350 pounds. And I'm like, that's the guy that inspires me out of this whole bunch. Like, I got respect for everybody else. The people who showed up, trained, fit, ready to rock and roll, ready to push. Like, they put in the work, man. I got respect for that. Not taking anything away from them. But the one who's going to have the hardest time is that every time somebody shows up to one of our missions, that just, you can tell they don't freaking belong. It reminds me of myself. And so I guess that's why it inspires me. And I know that they are more than likely going to get the most out of the time that we have together.
It's so inspiring. Mountain Tough is the fitness app trusted by the dedicated. Mountain Tough ethos is backed by, we've always wanted to be the best in the world at helping our customers become more mentally tough. So inside the Mountain Tough app, you're not only going to find all of our physical training programs, but you're going to find additional training as well so that you can stay sharp physically, mentally, spiritually, and nutritionally. The Mountain Tough app also allows you to train no matter where you are, anytime, anywhere. Additionally, the Mountain Tough app is going to have programs from beginners all the way up to elite athletes. And all of our programming is structured in a way that you can start with no gear at body weight, and you can go all the way up to programming that is full gear. So you can do that in a robust home gym or your local gym. There's no excuse for you not to start today. With Mountain Tough, you can conquer your goals with the ideal program for your lifestyle and schedule. Train with equipment or just your body weight on your phone, tablet, TV, or web browser. Most importantly, Mountain Tough will help you train your mindset so you are always ready for anything life throws your way. Mountain Tough is offering the Mountain Tough Podcast listeners an incredible offer. 6 weeks free on the Mountain Tough app. All you need to do is use the code MTNTOUGH to redeem your 6 weeks of training. That'll be a 14-day free trial plus a whole additional 4 weeks of training. Just go to MTNTOUGH.com and enter code MTNPOD for your 6 weeks free on the best-in-class physical and mental training app. You've been listening to the Mountain Tough Podcast. It's wild, man, that you weighed 220. What do you weigh now?
Right now I'm just doing strength stuff, so I'm about 175 now.
Yeah.
Running weight, I'm about 155.
Okay. And
yeah. So
I want to shift gears here and go into faith a little bit with you. And because I do believe that it's a key component to tie into this conversation, because I've seen a lot of people that have gone to awesome retreats. I've seen a lot of military buddies go to awesome organizations to fight against PTSD, to fight against the transition of coming out. And a lot of them don't talk about the Lord, and a lot of them don't have a Christian foundation. And I think that is a missing component to tying everything together that we're talking about today. But what does kind of your testimony look like, Chadd, and what does faith mean to you?
Yeah, well, my testimony, or why I believe the way I believe, is the first probably, let's see, I don't know, 6 years or so, I guess, of my career in the Navy, I was a freaking heathen, man. I was tough, but I was a real bad person. And so I came to know Jesus by an encounter with a paranormal entity, which I can describe as something no less than a demon that was inhabiting a place that I was staying in with a couple buddies while we were on a deployment. And so this thing, whatever you want to call it, I call it a demon, but some sort of entity was really bearing down on us. In other words, just like, I remember the first time that I experienced its presence was I was laying in bed in this little room, and something slammed the door. But the door was right at the foot of the bed I was laying in, and something like hit the door really hard and woke me awake. And it was only me and a couple guys staying with me, and we were in 2 rooms right across the hall from each other, and nobody else was in this place. So I was like, dang, that's odd. You know, I didn't think one of the guys were up, but I got up out of bed, and I could hear like voices echoing up and down this empty hallway, but I couldn't make out any words of it. It was just like sound echoing up and down the hallway. Well, it freaked me out, dude.
Yeah.
So I opened the door, go right across the hall to the guys. They were all asleep. Everybody's accounted for. And then this crap just keeps happening, like just bumps in the night, like this really heavy feeling of oppression and fear. And I didn't know what to do with it. So I ended up calling my little brother back in the States, and he had his pastor call me on my phone while I was where I was. And I had told my little brother what was going on. And I was like, I don't know how to freaking fix this. I don't understand it. I just know we can't sleep at night. Like, we're all sleeping in the same room together now.
Jeez.
Like, we can't sleep at night.
Crazy.
And so his pastor called me and said, just put me on speakerphone. I'm going to walk around this place. And he said, I'm just going to pray. So I'm at my wit's end with this. And so I do it. Nobody else is there. And he prays over this place. And then once he was done, I was like, all right, well, let's give it some time, see what happens. And after he did that, like whatever that thing was, it was gone.
Insane.
Like total peace return to this place. And I could rest there. Like I could sleep fine. Everything was normal. And I was like, well, okay. This guy is praying in the name of Jesus, and there's obviously some sort of power here. So I got my hands on the Bible, and I started reading the Bible. And for me personally, the Bible made sense to me. Even from the very beginning, in the account of creation. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It accounts for time, space, and matter. All the elements of the universe. And then reading about Jesus, I started in the book of Matthew and just reading about who Jesus is, who he was, why he had to die on the cross, what's the purpose behind that, what the Bible was telling me about myself and how freaking wicked I was, and how even if I decided that I was going to change some things about my life, that I was never going to be able to live up to the perfect standard of righteousness, which is determined by the Creator. And it's laid out for us in the Bible, the perfect standard of righteousness, that I was never going to be able to live up to that. And so as I was considering all of these things, I just thought, this makes sense to me. Yes, I am not a good person. And my Creator, according to this book, actually loves me. And because I'm not a good person, he decided to come to earth and die to pay the price for my sin. And people say, well, how does that make sense to you, Chad? Well, here's the thing. If there is a God, we're going to assume that God is perfect because he's way bigger than us. Well, God cannot be perfect unless he judges everyone perfect. So he can't look past our sins and give us a free pass. Like, for him to be a perfect judge, he has to pay the price for our crap. The Bible says he judged Satan, right? He kicked him out of heaven, right? He can't judge Satan. He can't judge angels. He can't pass judgment and put punishment on other beings, but then look past the sins of his special creation, humanity. And then I read about, Christ dying on the cross and then being resurrected from the dead. And then I read about these, at that point, 11 redneck fishermen going around the world, or not the world, but going around, their region and what they know of as the world and changing everything. They changed the course of human history. And that was supernatural. As a matter of fact, all of them but one, according to traditionally, according to history, all of them but one were martyred for talking about Jesus and saying that Jesus was God and that he was crucified. They were killed. And I'm just sitting here thinking, these disciples that went out and changed the world and died for the message that they were spreading, they were the only people that ever lived on earth who knew for a fact whether or not Jesus actually rose from the dead or not, because they saw him. And if they saw him crucified, and then they saw him resurrected, so they knew he had risen from the dead. If he hadn't, if Jesus would have stayed in the grave, if they would have saw him crucified but never saw him resurrected, do you think that they would have done what they did?
No way.
No, man. No, they wouldn't have done what they did. The reason they did what they did, and the reason they were able to do what they did is because they saw this Jesus come back to freaking life, man. And if you got somebody around here that has come back from being crucified and buried, well,
you'd listen
that's
to
a big
him.
deal.
You'd listen to him for sure.
That's a big deal, man. And, you know, that's another big problem we have. The biggest problem we all have is the fact that we're all dying. That's the biggest problem that faces all of humanity. We're all dying and we can't seem to solve it. There's only been one human being that solved it, that overcame it, and it was Jesus. So all this made sense to me. So one day I just decided to get down on my knees and say, Lord Jesus, I believe you are who you say you are in your word. And I want you to be the Lord of my life. I want you to fill me with your Holy Spirit. And I'm going to repent, which means I'm going to turn away from all the crap I've been doing and the way I've been treating people. I'm going to turn away from that, and I'm going to do my best to follow you. And I'm going to trust in your blood that was shed on the cross and in your blood alone for my salvation. And I prayed that. And then actually I woke up the next morning and I was like a different person. I got a lot of change all at once. I know that doesn't always happen for people. But that's what started my journey of faith, man. And
crazy.
I couldn't imagine. I don't even know if I'd be alive without my faith, man. I mean, what the crap? What else you going to hope for, man? Nothing.
We're all going to die.
I mean, I would succumb to despair. But, you know, and two, it's like all the stuff I went through with my wife and addiction and all this stuff, you know, all the struggles in my life. It's like, man, I wouldn't even have known how to love her through that. I would have left her. And she probably would have died. Because I would have left her because I didn't know how to love people. Like, you don't know how to love people, man. You might think you do. But until you have an encounter with Christ and you receive his Holy Spirit, and that is what comes and dwells with you and in you, you don't know how to love people, treat people. I'm not being mean. I'm just telling you the truth. So it's literally my faith is the most important aspect of my whole life. It's the most precious thing that I've ever been given. I would trade everything for my faith, up to and including my life. You could kill me. I'm not giving up my faith because without it, I have nothing.
That's an incredible testimony, Chadd. How cool is that? I mean, it started with some dude praying over speakerphone. On some crappy cell phone, you're in the middle of nowhere, and this dude's like, I'll pray for this house. Put me on speakerphone.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you know, I guess the Lord wanted me for some. I guess the Lord wanted me because obviously he had plans for me to be doing what I'm doing now. And so I think the Lord was like, okay, Chadd understands warfare. So I'm going to reveal myself to him through the evidence of spiritual warfare. I think that was by the grace of God, because I don't know that I would have understood what was going on in any other scenario. Like, I couldn't have understood it through love or compassion or grief or any of those other things. It had to be through this aspect of warfare, which is something I understood. Yeah. I studied, you know?
Yeah, unique to you. I mean, he presented it uniquely to you for that reason. Man.
Yeah, I truly believe that. No. I don't deserve that. I don't freaking deserve that. Even to this day, every time I feel like the Lord uses me to do something for his kingdom here on earth, like, I'm like, holy smokes, I am not worthy to even be used to carry out this task. But it's all good, man.
Man, that's amazing.
He supplies the strength.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. I do want to be respectful of your time. And in closing, I had a final question around your training camps, your big training events where you do get that hands-on experience with people. You get that mentorship with people that are there with you, and they go through that difficult experience, that camp, very physical and mentally challenging, the 24 hours on your feet hiking around without being able to sit down. I'm sure there's a plethora of other things, of course. But in closing, what do you see on the backside of that? What kind of testimonials are you seeing? What kind of life change are you seeing when they come out of that experience, when they're out of that experience that day, a couple weeks later, a month later?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't get to see a lot of that later, month later, week later, because they all go home.
Yeah.
And but what I see, usually immediately after we do something, and whether it's the rite of passage or the basic course, the proving grounds, we run multiple different courses. It's like I see these people all of a sudden realize that they're capable of way more than they were thinking they were capable of, because we intentionally push them. In everything that we do, we're going to push you to the point that you don't want to be there anymore. We don't do this for fun or to make you happy. We're going to push you to the point that you don't want to be there anymore. But guess what? We're probably going to be in the wilderness, and you won't have the choice to quit, because even though you don't want to do it, there's no way out. I have had students ask me if I could call a freaking helicopter in to pick them up. They said they would pay any amount of money, and they were dead serious. And I'm like, a helicopter can't get in here, man. You see this freaking canopy? We're in a green tunnel right now. Like, there's no way out. And so we get done with these things, and people are like, holy smokes, I pushed way past the point that I would have ever wanted to go. And it reveals to them that I've been cheating myself for a long, long time. I could have been doing way more than I have been doing. And I think that's an epiphany for some people. It really is. So that's one big one. And then another big one is because when people come out and train with me, I'm going to give them all of who I am. So I talk about faith. I pray. I'll pray with people. I'll talk to people about, we're out hiking for 24 hours. You think I don't get time to talk to, if you want to talk to me about the Lord, I'm going to talk to you about the Lord. And so in many of these courses, we finish these courses, man, and there have been multiple people that have decided to accept Christ at the end of the course. And I'll baptize them right then and right there. And so that's obviously the biggest fruit that we see that's bared from the seeds that we sow, is when we see someone even just begin to consider faith or open a Bible for the first time, but then ultimately to accept Christ and be baptized and follow him. And then it just, I have one friend right now, I have multiple, but one right now, Garrick, he's been a student of ours for the last 2 years, and he's accepted Christ. He's been baptized, and his whole life has changed, man. I mean, it's literally his entire life, his marriage, his relationship with his kids, his relationship with the things that he owns. His whole life has changed. So I wish I could see them all and hear them all. Unfortunately, I can't. But it's working. By the grace of God, what we're doing is working. That's
amazing. It's amazing that you're doing that, and I appreciate the work you're doing so much. I think, the more of that we can do right now, the more of that we can do as a country, as a civilization, as a society. I think in so many ways, every single day, we're seduced to chase the wrong path, and we're seduced to chase that wrong path from young to old. And most of it is possessions, materialism, laziness, and making everything as comfortable and soft as we can around us, and making things safe and easy. And no matter what age you are, no matter where you live, no matter what even what content you're watching, you're getting seduced all day long to chase the wrong path. And getting on the correct path is very similar to your self-talk analogy, where we almost have to do the opposite of what the world is telling us to do. And we have to have that trigger in our brain that, if the world's telling us to eat this, we probably shouldn't. If the world's telling us to watch this, we probably shouldn't, because the right answer is getting outside of your comfort zone, being uncomfortable, facing adversity, searching out adversity, testing the limits of really who you are. And you're doing that, and you're pushing that message, and you're doing it in a hands-on manner. And I just appreciate that so much about you. And I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you about it.
Well, I tell you what, Dustin, I really hope I get to meet you one day, man. And if you ever want to come out to a course and co-instruct or something like that and see what we're doing, feel free to come out, brother. That'd be awesome. And you're right. The answer is deny yourself. Crucify your flesh, man. Because your flesh is weak, dude. And it will consume you and it will destroy you. And I'm not saying you can't enjoy yourself. You can enjoy yourself. You can still freaking love your wife and love your kids and have moments, and you can have compassion, and you can grieve, and you can cry, you can do all those things, man. But I couldn't give any better advice than that, Dustin. Do the opposite of what the world's telling you to do. That's the world we live in right now.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to come out, Chad. I definitely would love to come out and see you, and that'd be amazing. And I'd love to get you to Bozeman too, and get you into the gnarly Montana backcountry sometime.
Let's do it, man. I'll tell you what, I'll take you on a turkey hunt out here this spring, and you take me on one of them elk hunts, man.
Yeah, we'd do a swap.
I've never been before.
Let's do it. That would be amazing.
Stay in touch, brother.
Awesome. Thanks, Chad. Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks for listening, everyone. What a phenomenal conversation with Chad. I hope you heard the words when he talked about breaking down this inspiration granularly to someone who's looking to jumpstart their life. They're looking to change their life, but they're intimidated by these big, massive, crazy events that people are doing nowadays. Chad broke that down. Very articulate. He was out of shape. He was 220 pounds as a kid, jumping into that pool, trying to pass that BUD/S selection swim test. But he overcame that fear, and he hammered on it over and over again. The key is showing up. 99% of life is showing up. So show up, do hard things. Hard looks different for each and every one of us. The important thing is show up, do something that takes you outside of your comfort zone. That's going to look entirely different for all of us, but the key is to get up and show up. Thanks so much for listening. If you want to find out more info and follow Chad's journey, you can check him out on Instagram at Chadd Wright 278. Also on YouTube at the 3 of 7 Project. Thanks again, Mountain Toughers, and we will see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Mountain Tough Podcast. We'll see you next week.